You're good.
Great. All right. I might be able to put some of these in the, we have several documents. I'm going to try to put them in the chat box right now. Again, these are all in the Google Drive link, everyone, so you can just go there to get them, but I'm going to go ahead and see if they'll all paste here. They're pretty large documents. We'll see if I can get them in the chat box. And again, no worries if you don't grab them. They are all in the Google Drive link, but I will reference each of these in today's class. And the last file I put in there is an actual PowerPoint or publisher file. If you don't have access to that, we can just use this and Zach can help you create one. Okay, I think I've put everything in the chat box that I wanted to put in. Let's make sure. I think I'm just missing one item. All right. There we go. Last one's going up. And here we go. Let's kick it off, everyone. Welcome to part 3 of 3, Advanced Prospecting and Marketing. We're going to do a real quick recap today of what we did last week. This is the third in the series. If you missed the first 2 classes, please, I encourage you to go to our YouTube channel. It's KWESO, and go and download and listen to the classes from last week, the 22nd of April, and the week before, April 15th. Really good stuff in there. We went over the going into your opportunities in command, and we went step by step of how to create an opportunity, whether it's a seller or buyer. It will help you look at your income pipeline for the year and get you very excited about those possibilities of your probable and potential income. Last week, we had an amazing class going over seller scripts, and I just want to review a little bit about that. And today we're going to be talking about buyers and converting buyers, which will lead us into May. On May 20th, I believe it is, and 27th, we have 2 amazing classes, converting buyers into escrow and how to get buyers into escrow very quickly and build that part of your business. So let's just do a quick recap from last week. If you remember, there are multiple ways in which we're engaging with sellers. We have cold calling. We will soon have door knocking again. Some people are already door knocking right now, but we certainly hope to see more of that in the summer. We do anticipate open houses coming back into the fold in July. Based on our last conversations with the board and CAR, but we'll let you know more about that as that obviously progresses. But we are getting back to somewhat new normal, and after June 15th, we're considered open in California, and hopefully we'll have a lot more great ways that you can connect with people face-to-face using CDC guidelines. So anyway, last week we talked about that amazing seller script. Do you all remember a couple of the key takeaways about when you hang up the phone with a seller who doesn't want to sell? Does anyone remember what we talked about? What do you got to do with a seller who doesn't want to sell? Anybody want to unmute themselves? Try to have a crack at what we talked about last week. What do you got to send them? Go ahead.
Try to get their emails and send them maybe a listing packet or something.
Right. What else do we do? That's right, Nancy. We send that letter. Remember that seller met letter we talked about? I put that in the chat box last week. It's called a seller met follow-up letter. once you're done with a phone call and the person doesn't want to sell, they're never going to sell, they said they're going to keep the building until they pass away, they still have to get collateral material from you because life changes. And I cannot tell you how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of listings have come about because someone stayed on it, right? They got that person that once a month email, they sent that person that postcard every month. They made sure whether they're in the farm or not in the farm, whether you're circle prospecting or they're already somebody that's getting stuff from you, you must send them collateral material. And that collateral material could include the handwritten note, which is a bare minimum, or the nice letter that I put in the chat box last week and in the Google Drive. It's called the Seller Met Follow-Up Letter. And that letter is fabulous. And you would put behind that letter your little listing book, right? If you have a brochure, use a brochure. If you have your listing book from Zach and Whitney, use that. And that's your expense to be able to connect and cement the beginning of the relationship. When they have collateral material from you after the phone call, there's now a connection between the phone call and your branding. And then as long as you're staying on it, calling them every 3 to 6 months, depending on their interest level in selling. If they are interested in selling, but not this year, you definitely want to make that a once a quarter call. If they have no interest in selling, you're always going to set your follow-up task in Command or whatever CRM you're using to call them again in 6 months to check in. So there's that phone call follow-up. They'll be getting a postcard from you every month. They get the initial package of collateral material, which has that letter. And they have a monthly email from you, okay? That is what will cement the relationship. And you have to do this with everybody who has a nice conversation with you who doesn't want to sell. Now, the same exact material applies for the person who does want to sell. So we have a different letter for them. So if they do want to sell or have an interest in selling, but they won't let you come for an appointment, remember we went through that dialogue, right? Mr. Seller, I'd love to give you an evaluation of what your home is worth right now or what your building is worth. Is there a possibility we can meet this week and I can stop by? And they say, no, it's too early. I'm not ready. We're not going to sell till next year. Or we're not going to sell till my husband retires. Totally understand. Well, at least I'd love to send something out to you about, give you at least a rough appraisal of what the home is worth right now. Just hold on to that. You can call me, we can review it, and we can always update it. So again, that person who has an interest in selling is not only going to get the letter, it's a different letter, right? It's called a seller prospect letter. They have a totally different letter because behind that letter will be your package, your listing book, and your CMA or your proposal, if you're doing a commercial. So it's really important that you send it out. People get afraid to send things out thinking, well, I haven't seen the inside of the house. Well, of course you want to look at the outside of the house. And if there are any MLS pictures from a previous listing, if it's a residential property, you can see at least what stage that house was in at the last time it was sold. You're going to have a wide range in this case, but you get something out because it begins a conversation. And remember, you have your top and bottom of the CMA. So you've got your cover and then you've got your suggested pricing options. And if you send that out to someone, it's going to begin the conversation. Even if they don't agree with your number, it begins the conversation. Of course, the appointment is critical. And to get to their house, to get to their place of meeting is critical. But if they won't give you an appointment because they're too far out from wanting to sell the home, too many months, a couple years out, you still have to get something out to begin the conversation. Is everybody clear with that? All right. So that's,
I have a quick question real quick on
Yes,
the CMA. Do you recommend something different? I've been using Cloud CMA on the MLS. And,
yeah, I love
it
Cloud CMA.
It is a lot of pages though.
Yeah, because you've got too many pages on there, Sean. I teach a class called Cloud CMA. There might be a recorded version, and I might just try to do one in the next month or so for you guys. When you go into Cloud CMA, there's all these pages in there that you do not need. Okay, that you do not need. And in the Google Drive, there's a listing mastery folder, and I have a sample of Cloud CMA. All the pages that come with Cloud CMA are extraneous. They already exist in your listing book. So you don't need all those pages. It's overwhelming. You only need the cover. You need the contact me page. You need the map. You need the listing details and the sold property analysis. That's it. It's only like 6 pages. It's not really 6 pages, but it's 6 sections. So anybody wants to do more with that, I will do another class. I did this class in the fall. I went step by step on Cloud CMA. But again, you do not want all those pages, Sean. That's already in your listing book. So they do that for a lot of agents who don't have listing packages like we do. So you're going to be removing many of those. If you want to reach out to me, I'll be happy to do a quick Zoom with you if you're working on a CMA and show you what to remove.
Veronica, I have a question.
Yes, Kiana.
In terms of commercial properties, not a CMA, but a multifamily, what's your recommendation for what we should send out?
Those of you who are in the commercial department, I highly suggest, Zach and I like to use Build Out. And it puts everything in there. You can put the rent roll in there if you have it. If you get that on the phone with them, it makes a gorgeous proposal presentation. So you guys have access to that in the commercial department. It's part of your commercial fees. So you do have the build out and it's really pretty. You put the property address in, you put the rent roll in, it'll calculate everything for you and the expenses.
Thank you.
And it makes a gorgeous, Zach can help you to show you how to use it. And then you can just do it over and over. Or you can create a template that looks like it and then repeat that template by just switching out the photos and the data. Okay. He can give you like an editable version of the build out. So yes, more proposals, the better, right? Your goal would be to get those out to people because the more stuff they have from you, the more you're branded and they will remember you. And they do put that away and they do say that they don't throw it in the trash. It's very unlikely they're going to throw that into the trash, right? And then what did we talk about last week about how many times does somebody have to throw a postcard in the trash before, this is a CAR statistic, before you're branded, completely branded, right? 5 times. 5 times in the trash and now they know who you are. So they look at you, they throw it in the trash. They look at you, they throw it in the trash. 5 times. And after 5 times, they remember your first name and your company. They remember what you look like. They remember some things about you now. So now you're becoming branded to them. Okay, that's why it's really important that your seller prospects always get a postcard every month. Anybody who's interested in selling now, next year, 3 years from now, but they've raised their hand, they have to get a postcard from you every month. Even if you're not a farmer and you don't send out farming, you must send out postcards to those seller prospects. And then based on your budget, you can send postcards out to those people that you spoke to who don't want to sell now. That becomes a financial conversation with yourself, right? Because that list can get really big, really fast, especially if you're calling and talking to 20 people a week, right? That can build up to 80 a month. That's $45 right now, right there in postcards. And then the next month it gets to 160. Now you're at $100 in postcards. So you really have to make a decision, and it's important for you to make a personal decision. None of us can tell you what to do, but what we can tell you is people get listings all the time, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years later, out of the blue, because you have been sending something to that person who said they didn't want to sell, but they were kind enough to have a conversation with you. And life changes, right? What are those life events? We get married, we get divorced, we have children, we have a passing away of someone, and heirs take over a property. There are so many different things that happen. We get a trade up, we get a promotion, we get a reload. So many things can happen in someone's life in a couple of years. And that's why you want to stay in touch with them. And I have found, and I'm not going to beat the dead horse on the seller conversation. We already did this last week, but you have to remember that when the seller is ready and you have been communicating to them and sending them things, they're going to pick up the phone and call you. Okay. So yes, Robert.
Hi. Thank you very much. The other thing that I like to use too is a personal video. Should you happen to get their email and they give it to you.
Awesome.
Bomb, if you do the trial service and you pay, I think it's $25, $30 a month. Most agents use this too, is sending them the information, like a 20, 30 second, thanking them obviously for the conversation. And then the follow-up one would be, I have your value, here it is, it's going on into the mail. And you can see when they click on it, when they read it and so forth. And oftentimes they will reciprocate and call you if they're really interested.
Absolutely, Robert, that's absolutely brilliant. And yes, you can use BombBomb for that. It's a great program. You can use the video input button on command templates for that too. So that is fabulous, fabulous, great idea. That makes it very personal. All right. So here I am now, I'm going to transition, okay? We are going to now talk about different manners and ways that we prospect for buyers. You know, as we move into the end of this year and we move into the first quarter of 2022 and we see what legislation will do with distressed properties, we're going to have some sort of an eye of the storm brewing in the next 12 months. We all know that. We all know that hopefully we will not have an extension on eviction moratoriums. Hopefully that will not be extended by the county or the state, so that starting July 1st, people can actually sell property that they've been not able to sell that has been tenant occupied. That will free up a lot of inventory in the back half of this year. I think it's about 15% of the inventory right now that's not able to be sold because of a tenant occupancy issue. So I think we're going to see some inventory coming into the market in the back half of the year related to that. Secondly, we all know that at this point, our forbearance moratoriums are scheduled to expire in September. We don't know if there's going to be an extension. They will then allow for a right of redemption. They'll allow for a little more leeway, but we are seeing some more NODs getting filed now. And remember, we're not really going to have short sales per se. Those of you who got the distress certification, good for you. We're going to have more NOD right to foreclosure, right? NOD right to foreclosure. Because majority, not all, majority of them have equity still. They still have some level of equity, and when you do a net sheet, you'll know whether they're upside down or not. But we're still seeing probably 90% of them are going to have some level of equity, because when you're in forbearance, you cannot refinance, as you know. So I think there's going to be a lot of that, people figuring out what are they going to do at the end of the year. And then beginning of 2022, unless some dramatic, extreme government bill is signed into law that forgives all of this, highly doubtful, the banks would collapse if that happened. We will see a massive amount of listing inventory. And if you were not in relationship with that seller the entire year, it is unlikely you're going to be the one that gets the listing, right? You need to be in relationship with everybody who owns a home. We talked about that. So having said that, transitioning over, you want to be the one that's standing there when these opportunities arise for your buyers. So let's dig into buyer prospecting for a moment. Buyer prospecting, of course, is a lot simpler than seller prospecting in the fact that there are 6 buyers for every seller, right, here in LA. So if you are out there just having conversations with people about real estate, investing, building wealth, long-term play, you're going to build trust with people. It's very important that you're excited about real estate investing, whether it's owner-occupied first-time buyer buying their first home, or whether someone's buying their first rental, or whether somebody's a very experienced investor and owns multiple rentals. The goal is to be able to get out there and communicate value. In May, I'm going to be going over the buy and hold spreadsheet and the fix and flip spreadsheet like we did last August. Many of you were not here last year, so those of you who have joined our office, you'll love those 2 classes. We're going to go into detail on how you put together a little pro forma for a investor, whether it's a single family, a 2 to 4, or a 5+. And we have a lot of SBA lenders now that, and if anybody wants to hook up with one, I've got several of them now. SBA is trying to lend now. They're trying to get their word out there on the 5+ unit in the commercial world. SBA has a program, and certain brokers could get that program for you for 10% down on a commercial property, apartment building, 10% down with rehab money included in the loan from the SBA. All right, so that's an amazing deal. So if anyone's looking for that, just send me an email. I'll send you some of the brokers who are really, really experienced. These are mortgage people who are very experienced with this SBA product. So anybody's looking and saying, I can't afford a 6-unit building because I need 35% down. Well, there are programs that SBA is trying to get out to let everybody know about that have 10% down. All right. And so you can find out more information about that. just send me an email and I'll shoot you some information on somebody who has that information for you. So how do you find those buyers? Well, they're everywhere, right? So unlike a seller who doesn't necessarily have to sell a home unless they're relocating or any of those life events have happened, buying real estate can happen anytime in someone's life, right? Whether they're a young person out of college or whether they've been investing for many years, buyers are everywhere, and it's your job to find them. So I wanted to just give you a couple of ideas of how to go about finding these people. First and foremost, let's get out of the box for a minute. We all know that open houses were and will be again one of the most amazing ways to find buyers, right? It's just like, you know, shooting fish in a little bowl. It's so easy. So that is going to happen again. And because you're in the biggest office in LA County, we have so many open house availabilities that when that comes back again, many of you will have the opportunity to sit and open. But I have put in the chat box an open house conversion script. Now, this script is not just for open houses. It's how you start to ask the questions to a buyer, and you're going to again internalize it, make it sound like you, not me, and you will look at, it says open house conversion script. I believe it's a Word doc or a PDF there in the chat box. Think you all see it? See if it's there. I hope it's there. Yes, sample open house buyer conversion script. You take that Word doc, it's got a dialogue in order of how you would have a conversation with a buyer, whether you're at a party, birthday party, a wedding, whether you're meeting a buyer from an online, it doesn't matter. This is kind of the flow of the conversation. And if you get used to this script, you don't have to ask all the questions, but most of them are there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, if it's okay with all of you, I want to just kind of do this real quick so that you understand how easy it is to get a buyer. All right. I'm going to go through the script for a second. If you guys don't mind, I'm probably going to screen share with you right now. All right, here we go. All right, here it is. I'll make sure y'all can see this. All right. So this is a sample script. Now, again, if you were at an open house, this is how you would start, right? Anyone can start any way they want, but these are some key things, right? So if somebody comes to you and they're an online lead or a Facebook lead, and you actually get a conversation with them, this is what you're talking about. If you're doing it in email, same thing. What neighborhoods are you looking in, right? What areas are you looking in? What cities are you looking in? Where do you live now? Why does that matter? Where do they live now? Because you're going to get to the point of figuring out what the motivation is for moving, right? So if they live in Pasadena and they're looking in Sherman Oaks, you've got to figure out what's going on. Why are they going to go to Sherman Oaks? So where do you live now? Really important. Do you rent or do you own your home? Super, super important. If they own a home, you want to find out, right? And if they say, yeah, we're currently own our home, well, that's wonderful, right? Remember we talked about last week when you're doing a script, positive comment, question. Positive comment, next question. Positive comment, next question. That's how you keep it rolling and not make it sound like you're scripted. So if they say they own a home in Pasadena, congratulations, that's wonderful. Whereabouts do you guys live? And then they answer, you make a positive comment. That's an amazing neighborhood. Are you going to need to sell your home to buy your new home? No, we're going to rent it out. That's fabulous. Great. So I just gave you another positive comment, right? And what brings you to look in Studio City? Right? Or Sherman Oaks. Well, my mother lives there and we want to be closer to her. Well, that's wonderful. Again, positive comment. If you don't give the positive comment, you're not going to keep the line open. Okay. So positive comment is how you keep the trickle happening. Now, one thing a lot of people make a mistake on, and it's up to you how you want to do this, but I've seen so many people say this in such a dry way, it sounds like a clinical question. People say, are you pre-approved? Do you have a pre-approval? And a lot of high net worth people get very offended with that question. And so there are many people that haven't even called their lender yet, but they're perfectly capable of buying. They may be working with many banks. They may want to shop. They might have a banking relationship. They know they can call their guy and they'll have a loan. So you have to be careful about the, are you pre-approved? That is a very sophomoric question. But everyone uses it. So you need to learn how to be a more savvy questioner and do it in a way that's more effective and gets the right answer you're looking for. So if you use the question, hey, do you have a lender you like to work with? See how I asked that? Do you have a lender you like to work with? I didn't offend you. So if you haven't been pre-approved, you'd say, oh no, we haven't started the process yet. Oh, now I'm going to come back with my positive. Oh, no problem. We have several amazing lenders that we can get you hooked up with, right? So you're kind of making them feel comfortable and not awkward, okay? Do you have a lender you like to work with? Oh yes, we use John at Chase, okay? So they have a relationship, so you don't want to push that. So it's very important to ask the question in a way that doesn't offend them, okay? And look at the next question, number 8. This is another one. When you say to somebody what price range, it's a very wide question. And some people know their price range. Some people have no idea what they're approved for, but most people have a concept because they've gone onto a mortgage calculator online and they've figured out and they say, oh, honey, yes, we can afford that. They know instinctually that they can afford a certain amount, especially if it's the same as their rent, usually. But it's very important that you get a proper answer to find out if they even know the answer to the question. So rather than saying, what price range are you in? If you say, what price do you want to stay under? That initiates what is called a blink response, right? We talked about blink last week. People make decisions in 3 seconds, right? There's a visceral decision that's made very quickly. If I say to you, what price do you want to stay under? There's going to be a number that pops in your head right now. 1,900,000, 2.5. There's going, or they'll come back with, I can go 2 to 3. The reason people that have a range know their down payment. The people that don't understand their finances will have a number they've been playing with their calculator. So it's really important that you try to get them to go under a number rather than giving you a range, okay? And then the minute they give you that number, here's the hook. We call this the conversion hook, number 9. And this requires you to do your job as a realtor. Every single one of you, whether you're brand new in the business this month or whether you've been in the business for 25 years, you better know your numbers in the MLS. Part of this job is to memorize your MLS. Every area you can possibly get to know. Start with areas that you live around or like to sell, but everyone needs to know their numbers in the areas that they feel they're going to play ball in. I'm not expecting you to know what a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Glendora sells for, unless you've sold a lot of Glendora, right? But I would expect you to know what a 3+2, 1,600 square foot home sells for with a 6,000 lot in an area 25 miles around your home. Okay, so you need to know your MLS, and the way you become top proficient buyer's agent is to know the MLS figures. And so every day you should educate yourself 15, 20 minutes, pick a zip code, go into that zip code, look for the actives, the pendings, and the solds, all right? And get yourself familiar with that zip, all right, or that map. So when they say, I want to stay under $1 million, and they're looking in Sherman Oaks, what's the answer? Anybody want to unmute themselves? What's the answer? I want to stay under $1 million. They're looking in Sherman Oaks. What's your answer? If you know your MLS. Anybody want to try and unmute themselves? Tell me what you would say as an agent. Anybody have any properties under $1 million in Sherman Oaks right now?
So you're looking for a condo?
A house or a condo?
Thank you. Well, that's you. You're the expert, right? So what would you say to them?
Veronica, can you ask them if they're looking for a house or a condo?
Well, absolutely. You can have that conversation, but if you didn't know that, because what happens is 50% of buyers in the first time market start with a home and they end up with a condo or townhome, right? Because they think they want a home, but then they realize that the areas they want, maybe that's not an achievable goal. So we don't want to squelch their dreams, but we also want to we don't want to narrow them down. We want to find out their price. Once we know their price, then we're able to have that conversation. So I would say to them, if they said under $1 million Sherman Oaks, I'd have to have seen the MLS in the last week, and I would have looked at it and I would have said, well, you know what? We really rarely do get a home at that price range. We do once in a while get something in the 9s, but we certainly can get an amazing condo or townhome well under that if that's something of interest to you. So if they said, I'm looking, my max price is 700, I'm looking in Canoga Park, what would you say? I need to have 3 bedrooms. My max price is 700. I'm looking in Canoga Park area. What would your answer be?
When are you
Gotta know
ready
your
to view
MLS.
some properties?
But you have to know your MLS. So that hook, that number 9, you see that number 9? This is the hook answer that gets people to realize that you're an expert. And if you're an open house, we call it a hook because it's a carrot that allows you to be able to get permission to send them properties, get their email address, get more information from them so that you begin that relationship, okay? So if they gave you a figure and they gave you an area, and you know in your mind, there's some properties on the market in that range because you're in the MLS every day, you're memorizing data, you're able to say, well, you know what? I think we have 3 or 4 in that price range right now in Sherman Oaks. Would you like me to send you that list? I just converted you. Do you see that? We have 3 or 4 in Sherman Oaks right now in that price range. Would you like me to send you that list? What are they going to say? No? You've led them to the conversion. So the way this is designed is this script is designed to lead them to give you the information. Does that make sense? If I say I'm looking under $1 million in this city and you say I've got 7 homes, we have about 7 homes right now. Do you want me to send them to you? I'm going to say, of course, right? Where most agents are not bringing it down to that hook. It's called a moment of truth. You've pulled them down to a moment where you're giving them a carrot. You want them to take the carrot, but you need the information from them in order to give them the carrot, right? It's a traditional technique that's used, and we divulge that information quickly as soon as they give us the info. Great, I'm gonna go ahead and send you that list. Take a look at it. Let me know which ones you need. Now, as you see number 10 in my little script here, as we go down the page, let me go down the page a little bit. Look at number 10. Right now, this is a cold meet, right? This isn't somebody that you already know their first and last name. This is a cold meet. Whether you are doing flyers at an apartment building, whether you are sitting in open house, this is if you don't know their name. You say, okay, great. And what's your first name and your last name? Great. And what's a good email address I can send those properties to? And what's your cell phone so I can text you once I send them? Does that make sense? You see how I'm pulling the information? This is from a complete stranger coming into an open house who signed in, who may or may not giving you accurate information when they signed in, or a complete stranger that you're meeting while doing tenant prospecting at an apartment complex, all right? Or a complete stranger that you meet off the internet and they don't give you any information. If you don't know their first and last name, you need to get it. And many of you understand from doing many open houses that people scribble and it's hard to read their names in the sign-in sheet at an open house, right? Very hard to read their names. So you do want to make sure you can get their name if it's a cold lead walking in, okay? But the key is you get the email address. What's a good email address? I can send it to you. Great. And what's your cell? I'll text you when it's done. They may or may not give you their cell, but you got to get that email address. Great. I will be emailing you in about an hour. I'll be emailing you tomorrow morning. I'll be emailing you whenever you're going to commit to emailing. And notice this last question. This last question, number 13, is not mandatory, not mandatory. But let me tell you what it does for you. I'm going to stop my share now. That last question are, what are good days for you to go out and see homes? Why would I ask that question of someone? Anybody? Okay. The reason you want to find that out, if the dialogue is going smoothly, what are good days for you to go and see stuff? The reason we say that is do not assume that every buyer only has Saturday and Sunday available, right? Don't assume that everybody only has Saturday and Sunday available. You know, when I sold real estate at a super, super high level, long time ago, and I was a number 2 buyer's agent in this valley, I rarely showed property on Saturday or Sunday. Rarely. Now, if I did, of course, I would go out all day, show 10 homes, write an offer. But you have to find out what their schedules are. A lot of people work from home. A lot of people are entrepreneurs, especially in COVID right now. You're not limited to Saturday and Sunday. Don't do that to yourself, okay? We always say keep your Saturday and Sunday as a wild card, right? So if you're going to do an open house on Sunday, great. If you're going to show property Saturday, great. If you're going to lay out by the pool, great. Whatever you do, don't force yourself into a stereotype. So when you ask, what are good days for you to go out and look at homes? Oh, well, I'm off every other Friday, like every county worker is off every other Friday. Great. Not good to know. Well, I work from home, so anytime's good for me. Wouldn't you want to know that? Right? Wouldn't you want to know that instead of pretending like you have to do Saturday and Sunday? It's really important to ask that, and you can flow that in. I put it at the very end because I want to get the information. And then I'll say, oh, great. Well, what are good days for you to go out and see homes? I'm setting that up. And then again, you give them a command. At the very end, we're going to give them an embedded command. When you speak from confidence, they trust you. When you speak from fear, they smell fear. When you speak from not understanding the MLS, they know it. You have to be the most intelligent, well-versed agent who can convey in a human way, in a way that people can understand data. And so if you ask them the question, they will tell you what days they have off. And if you find out that they both work from home, how cool is that? You put that in your notes. They can see property anytime. All right. So make sure that you flow your conversation, but this script tends to work miracles at open houses, miracles. And you can modify it for somebody who you already know their name. You still have to get those questions, right? What areas are you looking in? What price do you want to stay under? Where do you live now? Do you rent or own, right? All that, you have to find that all out, you know, and many of you do a great job. Christine Iso, you're on the call. Oh, great to see you. Christine Iso, one of our top agents in our office. She's always in our top 10. She's one of the top agents in this valley. Christine Iso, open house queen, has gotten every listing. Besides all of her wonderful sphere, she is incredible. She gets listings at all her open houses because she knows how to have the conversation. And Christine, you're just amazing. I know I'm embarrassing you, but if you wanted to let people know how you've been doing that for almost 15, 16 years, right?
10.
10.
Years.
Thought it was
Yeah.
longer than that. Yeah.
But you're embarrassing me.
I know.
Well, I work at it, but I think you only have a sliver moment to connect with the buyer as they come in. So I think listening intently and being focused to what they say is the key, I think.
Very
But
good.
it's a challenge right now. It's a seller's market, so it's shifted. You know, plenty of buyers out there, but you know, buyers want somebody who's got their back. I think that's the key.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christine. And
Mhm.
congratulations on your amazing business this year. Amazing.
Thanks.
So there are lots of people walking into those open houses that have houses to sell. Okay. There's lots of people who are buyers. They have houses to sell and they're not going to tell you unless you get it out of them. Okay. So you have to listen. You have to want to care. You have to be finding out. You can't randomly know nothing about your buyer. So if you're trustworthy and you're knowledgeable and you listen to what they want, they're going to connect with you. All right. Any questions about that script? Okay, we'll move on. Also in here, we have the Power 20 buyers. Remember, you're going to get yourself up to 20 people who need to buy in the next year, and you have an amazing business, right? More than $250,000 a year, way more. If you have 20 people that need to buy in the next year. I also have in my chat box 2 for sale by owner prospecting letters. And I also have in here a sample letter that you can give to a seller when you're looking for a specific neighborhood. I should have that one in there. I hope it's there. Yeah, let's see if it's here. Make sure I put it in there. Specific buyer letter. There's a Word doc called specific buyer letter in the chat box, okay? And I think that these help a lot if you're approaching a neighborhood. If you have a buyer who is ultra specific about being in a specific school district. This letter is really terrific, the specific buyer letter, for prospecting that little area. Just please don't send the letter to any property that's on the market, okay? You're not allowed to do that. So you can circle prospect for your buyer in a specific area using that specific buyer letter, okay? And it really works. And remember, don't forget to put your banner at the bottom. It's got to look nice and professional. You want to put your banner at the bottom of the letter or at the top, whichever looks better for you. Your banner is basically the equivalent of your email signature. And that JPEG goes either across the bottom or across the top of the Word doc. You change the names and you're off to go. You can get the names and addresses, obviously, from Dynamic Farm or your Title 24/7 toolbox. So your lawyer's title tools are there, and you can run circle prospecting anywhere, and you can get the names and addresses of an entire area, an entire grid. So if you don't know how to do that, please reach out to Serena or Mark. Very easy to use it, and you can print labels and everything. I suggest that you learn how to use your title tools because it's very easy to grab names and addresses of the owners of property very simply. But that specific buyer letter is a very kind of low-key letter you can use if you're trying to find a home for a buyer who does not want to go outside a school district or a grid. Okay, any questions? All right, and let me show you how simple this letter is. I'm gonna
Veronica, I don't see anything in the chat. Is it maybe in the Google Drive?
It is in the Google Drive under Advanced Prospecting and Marketing, and probably if you hopped on a little late, you didn't see it in the chat. We'll put it back in the chat. Hey, Whitney, if you're able to do that, great. If not, I'll do that shortly. Here's the little letter. Dear seller, my name is so-and-so, and I'm looking for a property for my buyer. Name of your buyer. It has to be a real buyer in your area. We are particularly interested in your location because it meets all the needs of my client. My client is well qualified, pre-approved. If you'd like to receive an offer from my client, please call me or email me. By the way, if you're not planning to sell anytime soon, but you know someone in the neighborhood, we'd love to connect with them. Many thanks for taking the time to read my message. We look forward to hearing from you. Simple, right? You can change that, change it up to whatever you want, but it's very, very simple. All right. Now, the other two are FSBO letters, for sale by owner. There's a 1 and a 2. And these, again, they're in the Google Drive as well. And I can put them back in the chat box again if Whitney doesn't get a chance to do that. For sale by owners, everybody know where to find them? Everybody want to know where to find for sale by owners? There are multiple websites out there. For sale by owners are their own market. They have their own little websites. There's a FSBO.com. There's a for sale by owner.com. There's tons of websites where for sale by owners list their properties. So you can find those for sale by owners, and those are great, great opportunities for you. Yes, a lot of people call them. So please make sure you have a real buyer for their home, but you'll see properties in neighborhoods that you're interested in. What's typically wrong with a for sale by owner? What do they usually have that's a problem?
Trying to save money, save a commission.
Right, they don't want to pay a commission. What's the second problem?
They have no market reach.
They have no market reach, but what in their mind, what's wrong with what they're trying to list it at?
Unrealistic about their price,
Right.
or they've had a bad experience with another agent, or they think they can do a better job than someone else.
That's right, Ted and Robert, thank you for those answers. So a for sale by owner is always overpriced. They're an emotional seller, right? A for sale by owner doesn't want to pay any fees to sell their home, so they'd rather just sit on the home. Now, what are the statistics about for sale by owners? This is going to shock you, but this is an NAR statistic. What percentage of for sale by owners actually end up closing with an agent, whether a listing agent or just a buyer's agent with a single party? What percentage of for sale by owners actually end up closing the house with an agent?
80.
Oh, Kiana, you were so close. That's a great answer. 89%. I'll say that again. Almost 9 out of 10 for sale by owners end up closing with an agent. Whether the agent got the listing by visiting them often and staying in relationship, or whether the agent brought a real valid buyer with a single party compensation agreement, right? Now, what if you're got a great buyer for the house and the seller still won't pay a one-party fee? What would you do? That's rare, but what if that happened to you? You can have a commission agreement or a finder's fee with your buyer if you choose to do that. Okay, that's choice. That's choice. We used to do that a lot in the old days when we had to help you sell and assist you sell, putting properties and signs in front of the yard with nothing in the MLS, right? And no cooperation. So you always want to present a single party compensation agreement so you do have your commission paid with the offer. But FSBOs will end up closing with an agent. So get out there. The importance is you need 3 to 5 touches with that FSBO before they start to trust you. 3 to 5 touches. Mr. Seller, I have so many clients looking in this neighborhood. Would it be okay if I come by and see the house? I have a few buyers that I'd like to take through. I wanted to see kind of where you're at. And most of the time the FSBOs are like, yeah, come on over, but I'm not listing with you. I'm not listing with you. I'm not listing with you, right? You go, you see the house. If it's a house that you feel is reasonable and you know what a price range is, then you have that conversation. Would you entertain any offers below your list price? No, I won't. Okay, well, I'll be back in touch. I'll see if I have any buyers at that price range. And what, of course, you will do is come back with an offer. And that's how agents do it every single day. 89% are going to close with an agent. All right. So FSBOs are great for sale by owner market. Is great to go after, but you have to stay with it. Have to stay with it. All right. And my next item here is the social media guidebook. The social media guidebook, we put that in the chat last time. And am I still screen sharing, folks? I don't think I am.
No, you're not.
Oh, I'm not. Okay. All right. Hang on. The social media guidebook is also in the Google Drive. So let me put that in here and I'll screen share that. This is super important for those of you who are just getting started in your business, or maybe you've been around for a really long time. This is critical for you to be known out there. We put together a little while ago that helps you step by step. I'm going to screen share now. Stand by. We help you put together this adorable book. It's really nice. See if I can get this for you. And here it is. All right. This is our social media guidebook. And we built this about a year and a half ago for all of our agents to tell you step by step how to go get your Google business listing, how to set up every part of your social media, the key parts, and what to do in order to be found on the internet. So this guidebook is a really awesome step-by-step. I hope you guys look at it and take a chance to look at it. The other thing I put here is some scripts for converting online leads. So when you do your Facebook leads off of command and you get all those leads back, we've got some great scripts from Market Leader here. They're really cute, short. You can do these in email. You can do these on the phone. These are voicemail. These are great scripts for trying to convert a paid online lead for those of you who have been playing with the wonderful ad manager in our Facebook lead manager. And I'm going to stop the share now. And I'm going to open it up for a conversation. And I also put in the drive a sample flyer. We have so many flyers. Whitney and Zach are fabulous. If you need a buyer flyer, you can get one from them. I just put a sample in there. There should be a sample, but many of you may, if you have a Mac and you don't have any Microsoft products, this buyer flyer, you might not be able to open it, but we can turn it into a PDF for you. It's really nice, and put your stuff. So let's talk about tenants, apartment buildings, tenants and homes. A lot of people don't market to tenants because they're a very underutilized prospecting area. We have thousands and tens of thousands of tenants living in apartment buildings all over our valley, the west side, who have the money to buy a home, who pay extraordinary amounts of rent, who have good income, but don't think they can buy a home and don't understand the value of the owner-occupied model. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that if you can reach out to people and show them how easy it is to actually have home ownership, they will understand what wealth building is all about, because as they throw their rent away every month, they could be working on saving towards a home. So the tenants that occupy both apartments, condos, and single family, you can just run an absentee owner list from title, and you will get all the tenants that are living in those homes. Any kind of farm list you run non-owner occupied, absentee, and you can just send the postcard or the letter to the resident, the current resident. Simple. And I guarantee you that you will be able to get phone numbers from any of the residents if you use any of your people searches. If you decide to focus on tenants, it becomes kind of a farming game, and you have to keep it up. So it's very important that you don't overextend yourself or spend a lot of money on it, but you certainly want to be able to look at certain people who are living in nice pockets and be able to see, what the rents are in those particular apartments or those condos or those homes. These people are renting a home. They may want to own their own home. So there's a lot of non-owner occupied marketing you can do to get people who are currently tenants. I also wanted to bring up Nicole. Are you on this? Yeah, I saw you in the chat box. Nicole, hi, Nicole. You wanted to clarify that SBA 10% down product for the buildings?
I can just email them later, but I was curious, is it 10% down if you occupy 50% or more? That was my experience before with retail, but I don't know about apartments.
Yeah, this product that I was told about, it didn't have to have that criteria. So I can look into that and then
Cool.
make sure I follow back up. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So there are so many places. Open houses will soon be there. Social farming is the #1 place where you can get buyers right now. Social farming. Those of you who get together with friends, family members, your sphere of influence, you should know whether your friends own or rent, right? And you start to become the fiduciary. So when you're having conversations, you're having that FORD, the forward conversation with your friends: family, occupation, recreation, dreams. FORD. So when you're talking to friends, don't be the invisible realtor. Let them know what you're doing, right? And talk to them about investing in real estate and building long-term wealth. It's really important that people understand that incredible way that you can start to build your life. Now remember, yes, are prices extended at this time? Yes, they are. Michelle Hirsch had an amazing thing to say on the office meeting last month. Value is what the buyer gives a home. When I've bought many homes with my husband, and we've bought many homes over market, multiple offers, way over market. And when you hold on to the home for a number of years, it is highly unlikely that you're going to lose. If you're going to live in the home for 5 to 10 years, you're going to be in good shape. If you're planning on renting it out, you need to know your numbers. And that's why the buy and hold spreadsheet, that's also, by the way, in the Google Drive, it's under Buyer Mastery if you want to jump in there and grab it after hours. There is a buy and hold spreadsheet. You want to give your buyers an idea. Is this break even? Do you lose $1,000 a month? Are you going to be positive cash flow based on the down payment and the loan amount, taxes, insurance? And if it is a single family home, of course, the maintenance will be on the tenant. Utilities will be on the tenant. But if you're buying to hold, you're not going to lose. You're just not going to lose. If you're buying to flip, we're not in that kind of market right now, even though there are certain areas that flipping is still going on. But I think that if your client is looking for a long-term play for long-term wealth, whether they already own a home and want to buy a rental, or whether they want to buy their first home, there is no better wealth building than owning real estate. And you need to be that educator. You need to be the fiduciary who explains that to them. And it's very important that you understand your numbers. For those of you who don't use mortgage calculators, please use one. Lawyer's Title has a great mortgage calculator. Zillow mortgage calculator is actually really good. Just get a mortgage calculator that will give you a PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and you can punch in an HOA fee in there, and you can put together a figure for your client very quickly based on an interest rate. Non-owner occupied interest rates are slightly higher than owner occupied. Call our lender, get the latest rates of the week. You should always know where rates are on any given week, right? They don't fluctuate that much, but it's very important to be educated. So whether you're socially farming, whether you're tenant farming, whether you're farming FSBOs, whether you're sending prospecting letters to sellers in a specific pocket, looking for a specific buyer, all of those ways are easy. If you have a listing, we all know there's tons and tons of buyers that come from that one listing that you do have, that you're marketing, whether you're sending out an email blast or whether you're doing a Facebook lead ad. We have so many lead ads that Zach and Whitney can show you that are in command or that are in Michael Lewis that are generic. And if you want to do a Facebook lead generation ad, spend $20, get some leads back. If you want to do an email blast, you'll get leads back. You have to do all these levels of connecting with buyers. Open houses will be soon back in that groove again. So that will be happening soon enough, but there are so many other ways to connect with people. There are buyers everywhere. And for every 100 people, how many people do you think are going to buy this year for every 100? We know what the seller number is. What's the buyer number? We said there's five sellers for every 100 people out there. How many buyers are there for every 100 people right now? Oh, that's close, Nicole. That's great. That was close. There's 6 to 10. Yeah, it's in the 6 to 10 range. So call it 8, right? So that's how many buyers there are for every 100 people. Imagine building your pipeline. All you have to do is connect, whether you're connecting digitally, whether you're connecting on the phone, whether you're connecting at a party or an event, whether you're connecting with actual feet on the street, looking at tenants in apartment buildings, whether you're connecting through FSBOs, to try to find a buyer property or to try to get someone to list a home with you. There are so many different ways to connect with buyers, and there's an abundance of buyers out there. It's a matter of your script, your dialogue, your knowledge. If you have the knowledge of what homes sell for in any particular pocket, if I say, you know, I want to buy a townhome and I only want to spend $600,000, you need to be able to go, well, we can get here, 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 and here. We have 12 cities right now that I can get you a beautiful townhome for $600,000. If they say, I want a home for X amount, you need to be able to go, great, here's where you can buy. And it's unlikely that you will lose a client if you have knowledge, you have empathy, you have connection, you're coming from a place of contribution and listening to what they have to say. Now, there is a caveat on listening to what they have to say. Does anyone know what that is? If I'm a buyer and I come in and I say I want Sherman Oaks, I'm dead set on Sherman Oaks, but I only have $1 million and I don't want a condo. What, and you stay with me, where am I going to end up? I said, I want Sherman Oaks under $1 million. I absolutely won't buy a condo or a townhome, but I absolutely want this school district. What's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is that the buyer who buys the home you're going to sell them or the property you're going to sell them is the house with the least number of compromises. The house with the least number of compromises. There are going to be compromises on every property. I love this home. It's stunning. It's got a pool in the biggest backyard in the world, but I kind of don't like the street. This home is not in the school district I want, but it's absolutely perfect on a beautiful street. This home is in the school district I want, but I can't afford it. You're going to find the home with the least number of compromises. That's the one they're going to buy. And your job is to help them go through the compromises. And that's next month. We're going to go into buyer mastery, putting people into escrow right away, right? And learning how to be a master at that so that you have lots and lots of income coming in, regardless of the market we're in. Regardless of the market we're in, there's plenty of opportunity out there for you. But remember, it's the least number of compromises. So they're going to tell you their criteria. And at some point, they're going to have to budge on one or more of their criteria, unless they have unlimited income and unless they have an unlimited ability to go anywhere, they're going to have to compromise somewhere. So the home with the least number of compromises is the one they're going to offer on. Any questions on that? So, you know, take it with a grain of salt, what they tell you. You go with what they tell you, but you also have to realize that if they're telling you something that's impossible, it's your job to now teach them about other avenues, places, neighborhoods, property types that might be a great fit for them. And I will tell you that 60% of the time, the buyer does not buy exactly what they want. I will tell you 60% of the time, they do not buy exactly what they want. They've compromised in some area. They've gone up in price. They've changed the property type. They've changed the neighborhood that they bought in. So please don't be so strict with yourself. Your job is to listen to them, try to accommodate their needs. But if you're going to try to squeeze a square peg into a round hole, you're going to be a very frustrated buyer's agent. Your job is to give them something that's good, that's going to appreciate and value, that's going to address most of what they want. All right? Any questions, everyone? I'm going to open it up for final questions before we log off for today. Yes, Sean.
I have a question, and nothing towards what you have just said today, but I'm a big fan of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and also Mike Ferry. They both mention you should, as a real estate agent, you should focus a lot of your attention on listings and not buyers. What would you say to that?
Great. I can answer that question for those that have been in the business a long time. Great question, Sean. I think that's a really good point. I have read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book for 16 years. I've taught it. It's all about listings, leads, and leverage, right? Listings, leads, and leverage, because listings bring you leads. Leads include sellers and buyers. Those leads bring you leverage. Leverage means now you can have an assistant and a buyer's agent working for you, right? And the reality is you should be focusing your time on prospecting for sellers. But if you're looking in your first year in the business to also pay the bills, you should prospect for buyers as well. If you're not worried about income, then absolutely, you build your business on listings only, right? But if you're looking for a balanced income, you may want to consider your first couple of years in the business balancing your business. Does anyone want to comment on that? Because that's such an insightful question. I'm going to give you my opinion in just a moment. I haven't done that yet, but anyone want to comment on that who's been in the business for a long time? How much money where did your business come from your first year in the business? Anybody want to comment who's been around for a really long time? Anybody want to volunteer? Going back to your first year in the business? Everyone's afraid to make a comment there?
Mine was buyers, and not everybody's personality type is suited to being a listing agent either. I had to kind of build up to that role.
Thank you, Nicole, from one of our biggest commercial agents here in the company. Thank you. Anybody else want to volunteer their opinion? Herb.
Yes. Hey, I just remember my first few deals came from sphere of influence, number one, and then also open houses. It was open houses. Your open house conversion script. Yep. That works great. You bet.
Thanks, Herb.
Yep.
Thank you. Anybody else want to volunteer where all their money came from their first year in the business? Okay. So the reality is you want to focus prospecting in a way that works for you. You can focus 100% of your 30 hours on sellers, or you can focus 15 hours on sellers, 15 hours on buyers. It's really a personal decision. But when you have listings, you own the market, right? Listings give you leverage. We all want listings. We absolutely all want listings. So of course you should be focusing on listings. And I want to just close today with a little bit. My first year in the business was 21 years ago. I door knocked every single day. I cold called every single day for listings. I did every open house. I did social and sphere farming with my family and my friends. My first year in the business, I earned $293,000. 90% of those were buyers. 10% of those were sellers. The second year in the business, I earned $500,000. 80% of those were buyers. 20% of those were listings. The third year in the business, it leveled 50-50. And then it averaged back out. Does anyone know what they call a balanced business? What's the percentage of listings and buyers on a really strong business? Anybody?
50/50.
Yeah, you could 60/40 is what they say. 60% listings, 40% buyers. Some people will even go as far as say 70/30, 70% listings, 30% buyers. But a balanced business is more the reality if you're looking for fast money. Okay, Sean, you're looking for fast money. If I had only gone for listings and didn't take all those buyers out, didn't do all those open houses, and didn't drive around and write all those offers, I would have made about $20,000 my first year in the business. But what happened to my third year? My farm started kicking in, right? Farms take 24 months to mature, right? You have to plant the seeds, you have to water the farms. Those of you who've been farming for years know this. You got to plow the dirt, right? And you have to stay in touch. So the matriculation is 15 months to 24 months in a farm. So while that time is passing, you have to be earning money. If money's not an object, great. Then you can just keep going until that builds. Because the third year in the business, my listing business exploded because every cold call, every door knock, stayed with them. And then I would just get one call after another, after another, after another for listings, right? Because the systems are working, right? You're calling, you're mailing, you're mailing, you're mailing, you're calling, you're mailing, you're walking. So Sean, I think the best advice I can give you is, as a newer agent, you're always focusing on getting listings. You should put the majority of your prospecting into that. But if you're also looking to earn some money in the first year, you might want to have a little bit more balance. That's just a personal opinion from someone who, you know, did quite well in my life, in this business.
Thank you for the insight. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Anybody else want to comment on that before we close out? All right, guys. And those of you who haven't read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, please do. It's the best book on this and building your business that there is out there. Nobody has beat Gary Keller in writing about how to be a top agent. And if you follow his formula, you will make $1 million a year, right? Until next time, I'll see you in May. Love to be on for next month. You're going to love Buyer Mastery. Until then, see you and have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.